I've always considered myself a good judge of character, but moving into that old apartment complex proved me wrong. It was one of those buildings that seemed decent enough from the outside, but once you stepped in, you could feel the heavy air of neglect. My unit was on the third floor, 3B. Right next to mine was 3C, a door that always remained closed, with an odd scratched nameplate that read Emerson. For the first few weeks, I barely noticed the other tenants. People kept to themselves, and I was busy unpacking and adjusting to the new job. However, it was hard not to notice the sounds coming from 3C at night. At first, it was just the sound of heavy furniture being dragged across the floor, followed by the rhythmic thudding, like someone hammering something repeatedly. One night, as I was taking out the trash, I bumped into Mrs. Hartley from 3A, a kindly older woman who always greeted me with a smile. I casually asked if she knew who lived in 3C. Her expression changed instantly, her face tightening with worry. "You're better off not getting involved," she whispered, glancing nervously at the door. "He doesn't like to be disturbed." Her words sent a chill down my spine. That night, the noises grew louder. It sounded like something being dragged again, but this time there were muffled cries intertwined with it. I couldn't sleep. Curiosity got the best of me, so I pressed my ear against the wall, trying to make sense of the sounds. The next morning, I gathered the courage to knock on 3C's door. No answer. I peeked through the small, grimy peephole, but saw nothing but darkness. As I was about to leave, I noticed a faint, greasy handprint on my door, as if someone had leaned against it while I was sleeping. Over the next few days, I became more paranoid. Every night, the sounds would start up again, dragging, thumping, and that eerie, muffled chanting. One evening, I noticed something strange in the hallway, a trail of what looked like dirt or mud leading from 3C down the stairs. I followed it to the lobby, but it ended abruptly at the building's side door. I decided to confront the landlord directly. He seemed annoyed and dismissive, saying Mr. Emerson had lived there for years without issue. When I mentioned the strange noises and the muddy trail, he seemed to soften a bit, admitting that some previous tenants had also complained, but usually just moved out without much explanation. Determined to find out more, I spoke to a few other residents. Most just shrugged it off, but one man on the first floor, Tom, pulled me aside. "You've heard the noises too, huh?" he asked, eyes darting nervously. "That guy is weird. Once I caught him standing in the lobby at 3 a.m., just staring at the wall, didn't even notice me. But the creepiest thing, he was barefoot and his feet were covered in what looked like mud or something darker. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., the dragging sounds started again, louder than before. I peeked through my peephole and saw the door to 3C slightly ajar. A pale, dirty hand slowly pushed the door open, and a figure stepped out. A tall, gaunt man with long, unkempt hair and a stained coat. He looked straight at my door, as if sensing I was watching. Frozen in fear, I barely breathed as he moved slowly down the hall, his footsteps unnaturally heavy. I dared to glance again, just as he reached Mrs. Hartley's door. He stood there, scratching at it gently, whispering something I couldn't make out. The next morning, I found a note slipped under my door. It was a crude drawing, a stick figure inside a rectangle with an X through it. Below, in shaky handwriting, were the words, "Not safe. He watches." Terrified, I called the police again, but by the time they arrived, 3C was once again deserted. Mrs. Hartley claimed she hadn't heard anything. The landlord insisted I was imagining things. A week later, I moved out. I never figured out who or what was in 3C. Sometimes late at night, I still wake up with the feeling of being watched, and I can't shake the memory of that pale, dirty hand reaching out of the darkness.